Hey, everybody. Welcome to Marketing Monday. I am Bill Faith, joined by Chris Wharton. Today, we're going to talk about why Airbnbs are failing. And really from a perspective of a lot of you treat this like a side hustle as opposed to like a legitimate business investment. And I want you to sit back and think about one thing first before we dive in. Most likely, for almost all of you watching this right now, your first Airbnb purchase, your first short-term rental was the largest investment you've ever made outside of buying your primary residence. And for many of you, you probably put more money down on your first short-term rental than you did with your primary residence. A lot of you probably don't know this about me, but literally the first short-term rental I bought all by myself, my beach house with me and my wife, was the largest investment I'd ever made into a business. And out of all the short-term rentals I bought, they are all number 1 through number 71, Chris. No business have I ever put over $100,000 into to start outside of investing into real estate. So these are things, I'm going to go through 4 things that you really need to identify, because this is typically what's going to hold you back. And we'll dive deeper and kind of unpack each one of these as we go through. And I'm going to start with number 1. It's the cash flow issues. Here's the fundamental mistake that most entrepreneurs, new investors make is they believe that they can build their way into cash flow. They believe that, oh my gosh, my business, I only lost 20% this year, Chris. I can turn that around and do 20% positive next year. Well, how are you going to increase your revenue by 40%? And that's the biggest struggle for me, is to give you guys honest fucking answers when you send me your listings and you bought in the wrong place at a 9% interest rate, you overpaid by 150 grand, you bought it in the height of 2022, and you've got 60, 70% of the stuff that I advise you to have. Well, if you have 60 and you just add 40, it's not going to take you from losing $4,000 a month to making $3,000 a month. We might be able to get you back to break even. So you really need to understand these cash flow issues and what really can be done to curb them versus just throwing good money after bad. Most of you just need to reposition out, get as much cash back as you can, and then reinvest. You see the same thing, Chris?
Yeah, I think the numbers don't lie. I think people like to tell themselves lies to make themselves feel better about the numbers, and we get very attached to things. We love our investments, we love what we do, and it's hard sometimes to look at and to separate I put a bunch of work into this, that I put all this time and effort into it, and separate the actual facts of this is something that's supposed to be an asset that makes me money and it's losing me money. But what do you do in that situation with any other business or any other asset? You get rid of it and find you one that actually can make you money and give you the returns.
Your bank account has no idea how much time or effort or love that you put into whatever is putting money into it or sucking money out of it, right? And that's where I talk about no stories. Show me profit and losses, P&Ls. Show me your pro formas, and don't tell me a story because you're buying the property or you're making improvements based on what you have today. So what happens is you have cash flow issues probably because of this. You have weak marketing. And if you didn't listen to the Superhost Sunday yesterday, you missed a huge installment of that, unfortunately it only gets played, on Sundays, and then you can never hear it again. We send it out via text message, but you should probably be on that. And Chris, I talked about the mistakes that people make, and they may have, a cool fire pit or the second coffee bar or the robes and the slippers, the tampons, the toothbrushes, the extra toothpaste, all that little extra stuff, in their bathroom, but they don't showcase it. And one of our mastermind members, when you were slacking me this morning, I was on a very long call with her going through all 4 of her properties, and she had photos in the wrong order in her listings. And she had the wrong photos. Like, she had a place in the Finger Lakes that's on a lake, and it showed a very weak image of kind of a misplaced kayak on the edge of the dock, and it showed the lake. And that's great to show the lake, but then like 9 pictures, that was probably like image 4 or 5. 9 to 10 photos deeper, she had the image that should be in the top 5, right? And then after I'm on her 3rd listing, and I find out you're pet friendly at this property. She's like, I'm pet friendly at every property. So if you're pet friendly at every property, I said, are you coming to Montana for the meeting here in a month? And she said, no. I said, were you at the last meeting last December when I had Mike McAllowicz there, from Profit First and Pumpkin Plant? She said, yes. I said, you remember what Mike talked about with the dog scenario? And I said, and if you're, and for all of you guys that are pet friendly, and really most of us are just dog friendly. We don't want iguanas and piglets and cats and stuff like that. So you need to be crystal clear that we are dog friendly as opposed to pet friendly. You can check the pet friendly box. But if you're dog friendly, you need to have a photo of a dog, like the cutest, golden doodle ever, like Oakley's golden doodle snuggled up on the couch. Show a golden doodle with the dog bowls, with the dog bed, that type of stuff in your first 5 images. And down below, you should put "We heart dogs." I very rarely want to put text in images, but "We heart dogs." And you should be showing them that you love the dogs, right? Too many of you that are pet friendly are not marketing it. You're just checking the box. Any box, and you think about the first 5 to 7 boxes that you check in your Airbnb or Vrbo listing: the hot tub, the fire pit, pet friendly, whatever it is. Those need to be upfront at the beginning of your listing, and that needs to be the lead for your Instagram marketing. That needs to be the lead for your Facebook marketing. That needs to be the lead for your email marketing. And you need to really leverage that stuff. And I see that's what the majority of people are doing, is they are not leveraging it, Chris. They are literally spending all this money, 5 to 10 grand for a hot tub, extra cleaning fees, and lint rollers for your cleaners to lint roll the dog hair off of whatever. You're spending 5 to 6 grand, or in my case, getting, $15,500 for a $3,000, fire pit in Montana. And then you don't accentuate those. You don't leverage those from a marketing standpoint. The worst thing that you can be doing is zero marketing, right? Doing no marketing at all. Because remember, marketing and revenue management are tied together. They go hand in hand. So the higher your rankings are on Airbnb and Vrbo, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, whatever you're using, Expedia, the higher your rankings, the more you earn the right to be able to charge higher rates. The better you market, the more traffic you drive to your site, the more you earn the right to charge higher rates, to raise that ADR. Chris, what are you seeing the biggest mistakes that they're making? What's the weakest components of the marketing that we see every freaking day?
It's they tell and don't show. It kind of goes deeper into what you were just talking about, that it's one thing to label like, oh, we have the bedrooms and pull-out couches. We have all these extra things. We have a fire pit. And then they don't do a good job showing the things that they're telling everyone about. And in that same vein, there's one thing to show a hot tub. It's another thing to show the hot tub in the perfect light with all the accessories and things out and staged properly. And that's kind of the one thing we see the most, is that you can show a dining room, or you can show a dining room where it has everything staged and laid and the light's perfect in the room. And so like all photos are not equal. All amenities, just because you have the amenity, doesn't mean that you're showing it in its best possible light for people to be actually interested in that amenity and want to come and see. And so that's one of the big things that we see all the time, is that there's a lot of telling and enough showing, and that includes in the copy, just not enough details and things, not enough explanations. You get people's interactions, and that's how you can judge, do you do a good enough job explaining in the copy what you have, what you don't have, how things are laid out, what you're missing or not missing. So really not just telling, but showing as much as possible what you have, and then showing it in its best possible light. Not just, the half-ass photo of like, there's the hot tub, but there's the fire pit, but have the fire pit actually lit up, have all the accessories, show the wood, show all the stuff that people want to see with it, and not just it as a thing.
You have to arm your marketing. You need every bullet filled in a chamber. If you got 10 shots, you need to have all 6 chambers filled with bullets. If you got 10 in your mag, you need to have all 10. So one of the big things, Chris, that leads into it, that not only do they not leverage that stuff, but they don't stage it. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge deal, folks. I just ran out to my hot tub. I'm at my personal residence. We have this. This is literally snaps onto the side of every hot tub. It's universal. This moves. And then on top of that, you know what we have? We have this. And we have 2 glasses of wine next to it here and here, filled, not with $300 Tiganello, but with like $5 wine. And we have this sitting there, right? So that way we showcase what people can do, and we want them to be in the emotion, right, of what they're doing. Every flat surface Most of you guys do not have your dining tables and your coffee tables staged. You don't have your island, your kitchen countertops staged. You don't have the backside along underneath your cabinets staged. You don't have your end tables on the sides of your couches or your chairs staged. You don't have the nightstands. Really, you should be using end tables. Don't spend $250 on nightstands. Go to Home Goods and spend 75 on end tables, right? You don't have those staged in the bedrooms. And when you have those staged, you are giving yourself more marketability. You know, there's no question. I mean, at least my opinion is Andrew Keller is hands down the best photographer in this entire industry. But if I don't have the property staged appropriately, then I'm pulling like 2 or 3 or 4 bullets out of his chamber. And his chamber is his photography skills behind the camera, right? Because a lot of what he does isn't just the photo that he takes, it's how good he is and how much time he takes on the editing side on the back end. So I want to take a really quick second here. We've gone through 2 things. And number 1, hey, James, please in the comments say hello and let me know where you are from. Let me know where you're from. I want to make this personal. And if you have questions, post them in the comments. But here's what I want you to know. On a scale of 1 to 10, I just want you to type a number in. How good is your property staged in your photos? From number 1 to 10. 1's worst, 10 is at the top of the scale. Because I see almost every listing we go through, Chris, and we're going to go through a bunch of these on Move the Needle in a couple of weeks, is you're missing that staging component. So be honest, put those. So Eric Corson says a 3. Eric, send me your listing. I want to review that sumbitch before we get to Whitefish for our meeting, and go over that. And look, Eric just literally broke the mold. He said his is a 3, right? So don't be afraid for this. You know, Kenny is a 7, right? And literally, if somebody has like a 9 or a 10, hey Tim, how are you, buddy? Hey James, if you have a 9 or a 10 and you believe that, post a 9 or a 10 with your link. So Dustin 6, the last, what is that, Picasso? I need my glasses on. I think it says the last Picasso is a 7, right? So we have a C is the highest right now, right? So if we're grading on a scale of 100 and 90 to 100's an A, 80s are B's and 70s are C's, we have 2 C's that are our highest grade that's been earned. Who's got a 9 or a 10? Send me your freaking link so I can pull it up and showcase it for you, for everybody. So if you could have Andrew Keller, you know, coming in. Terry, come on, Terry, you're a 3 or a 4. That's not true. I want to see your new photos from Austin, because I bet you went from probably a 5 to a 6 to like an 8 or a 9, I'll bet. And send them to me. I won't show it up here if you don't want me to, but I do want to see how he did on your photos. You can spend all the money you want on marketing and media and Facebook ads and photo and drone and, you know, fly through walkthroughs. And Chris, you know, we've shown you guys how to use an Osmo and do a walkthrough video and all that type of stuff. But if your property is not staged, at least to an 8 or a 9, and nothing's a 10 by any means. I mean, I'm sure Ashita has done some 10s, but one of the most important things for me is I want to get to an 8. I want to get to an 8, but I want to do it maybe 8.5. Look, I was a B guy in high school, a B plus guy at best, right? I was an 11, you know, on the golf course, but I was like a B, you know, inside the classroom. I think I had like a 3.4 GPA, Chris, or something, 3.45 when I graduated. And you know what? I got every ounce out of it that I could. And that's the thing about Bree and I, when we're designing and staging, you don't see over the top stuff, you know, in our properties. Chris, you've seen every one of them. They're designed to a certain level. We get to that B, to that 85th percentile. Rich Gray, how are you, neighbor? Nice to see you. Whitefish, Montana. We want to get to that 85th percentile to where we give the marketability, we give the comfort, right? But I don't want to spend to get into that 90th percentile or that 100th percentile. Does that make sense, Chris? Mm-hmm. So I really want you guys to do that. So for those of you that are 3, 7, 6, 7, thank you guys for sharing. There's way more people. We got 43 people on here and only like 4 were willing to share your numbers. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Rich. If you're not an 8, then I really want you to go through your listing and see what can bring you up to an 8. Eric, how do you go from a 3 to an 8 without breaking the bank? That's the most important thing, right? How can you How can you spend like 5 or 10 grand to go from a 3 to an 8, including, the cost for photos? So anyways, Christine Lee, I think I'm an 7 or an 8. Awesome. Christine, send me your link. You can do it privately. I won't embarrass anybody or, call you out here. Mindy Irvine, 8 on 2 properties. Love it, Mindy. Love it. Mindy, you were the first person to sign up for my ski retreat that I emailed out last night. Can't wait to, hit some POW with you in January. So anyways, the staging is a huge component, folks, to really impacting the marketing. If you're not marketing at all, there's really some core elements that become really critical. And the most important one, in my opinion, is StayFi, and then implementing my 200-day funnel. And if you're not implementing that 200-day funnel, then you are not taking advantage of all of your past guests. So then you can take that next step. And we kind of call this the core 4 through Market My SDR, right, Chris? You implement the 200-day funnel. You have your direct, and a lot of you have your direct booking site, but your marketing's so weak, you're not getting any direct bookings, right? And I think there's a problem in our industry, Chris, that people say, oh, get a direct booking website, and then magically it's like Thanos, and instead of everything disappearing, everybody dying, all the direct bookings come in. That's not the case. You have to execute really good marketing to be able to generate direct bookings. So, Chris, anything to add to the weak marketing component while I pop this bottle of Tiganello? Not really.
Just that I think people think direct booking websites, what a lot of brick and mortars used to do, which is you would build it and people would come, right? That's why you build a brick and mortar, like a restaurant or a local business. You build it in a place where it has high traffic, because that traffic is going to be the people that drive by and see it, or the ones that have come through and all that kind of stuff. That's why you see McDonald's isn't about McDonald's, like the food in McDonald's. It's about the real estate of where McDonald's are. Same thing works for direct booking sites, that if you build it, that does not mean that they're going to magically start coming to your direct booking site. You have to send people to your direct booking site, and that's through Facebook ads, buy-sell trade groups, the email marketing. You have to drive traffic, eyes to your direct booking site to get bookings on your direct booking site. And too many people just don't. They're like, I built it, and then they get no bookings. Like, well, why aren't people booking? Like, when there's no one seeing it. If you get 10 visitors a month to it and no one's going to book on that low number, you have to get the numbers up to be able to get people and eyes in front of it, because it's just all marketing in that aspect is a numbers game. The more eyes you get, the right eyes, or the more qualified people, they're going to actually see it. The more people that see it are going to look at the dates. The more people look at the dates, you're going to find the ones that actually want to quote. And more people that look at quotes are going to actually book. It's just that's what a funnel is. All in a big number at top, small number at bottom. You have to have more people in the big number to get more people in the small number. And so you have to get eyes on it. It's not just going to happen by itself.
All right, you guys ready? You sure? Make sure you have something to write this down. You're going to need to come back and watch it again. Hey, Ron, how you doing, Ronald? TTTTTT, what is that? 7 T's and an F. Rick Rodriguez, thank you guys for being here. All right, so here's the deal. We talk about buy-sell trade groups a lot. That's been one of my secrets for about 4 or 5 years that I've been implementing. When I built the Superhost library, is one of the very first action plans that I put into my Superhost library. And I still do it to this day. But now I'm taking it to the next level. And if you are in a market that has a lot of traffic, meaning you're in like Destin, the Smokies, Branson, Missouri, that have all these Facebook groups, you're probably going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 Facebook groups, Chris. And I can't even remember where I taught this. I think it was probably at the Inner Circle in-person meeting that we had a month or so ago. And it's the only time that I've ever really talked about this. So I started doing this at GNP, Glacier National Park. So, and this is super important if you have multiple properties in one of these high demand markets, right? So Glacier has like 6 Facebook groups with 85,000 people or greater in it. And you know what happens at the end of the season? Literally, when we were there for B&B camp, they shut down the park like 4 days after we were there, right? So literally B&B camp was, I don't know, whatever it was, the 12th, 13th of October, like the 16th, 17th, they ended up shutting Glacier Park down. Everybody's trying to book for next year. So if you understand the booking season, right, which is way longer around a place like that, and you understand that there's not enough lodging and you're active in these groups, you probably see, hey, Grinnell Lodge is booked. The camping sites are booked. Where can I stay? Are there any Airbnbs or hotels, close to Glacier? Well, when you have 6 groups that average about 107,000 people per group, and like 41 posts a day. You can see all this data when you look in a Facebook group, right? I mean, literally, there's like 5 to 10 posts a day per group about asking about advice on planning a trip, directly asking where I should stay. So imagine hiring a full-time VA, $400 a month for not even full-time, 20 hours a week, 20 hours a week. And all they do is respond to those. No spam, no going and posting your link directly into it. And it could literally be going in, you see Chris, hey, I'm planning a vacation to go to Glacier and Yellowstone and whatever. Any recommendations on, where to stay or what should I be planning? So 2 things, right? Chris says, where should I stay? Then go drop in your link, right? And share it with them. If Chris says, hey, I'm planning a trip, have any tips? And then your VA can go in and DM Chris and put in there, hey, Chris, I'm going to DM you, in a comment, and then DM Chris and say, hey, Chris, this is Bill Faith. You know what? I actually am a semi-local. I own 4 properties there, and I know all the restaurants, best place for hiking gear, tents, where to get bear spray, where you can rent bear spray if you don't want to buy it, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, these are my top Airbnb recommendations for you. If you have any questions, let me know. That is so not spammy because I'm helping Chris and I'm letting him know I'm going to DM ahead of time. The problem is you and I don't have that time to be able to do that, to catch all of these, and specifically in an expeditious manner, because speed is critical, right? Just like I want you to literally get your QC from your cleaners by 10:30 every turn, and then to be the first one to reply to your guests when they check out. So that way you can build that reciprocity. Hey, Chris, thanks for staying with us. Safe travels home. By the way, I just left you a 5-star review. Hope we're able to earn the same from you. Chris was thinking 4, but now he has reciprocity for me. When Chris is thinking about, I have no clue where to stay at Glacier National Park or Yellowstone or the Tetons or anywhere. And then I go in and say, hey, Chris, here's my top 3 recommendations if you're looking for this, that, and the other. And by the way, here are some awesome places for you to be able to stay. He's at least going to look at them in most cases. Whereas I just go in and start spamming my links, nobody's going to look at it. And you're going to get kicked out of the group. Hire a VA. $400, you can find them for $300 to $500 a month, and that's all they do for you, right? And watch what happens to your direct bookings if you script it out and if you train them how to execute this correctly. And then you just go in once or twice a week and you go into the group and you search your own name because they're going to use your personal profile, right? Search your name to make sure they're not spamming, to make sure they're doing it, correctly. And that is a way to skyrocket your direct bookings if you have groups that have enough traffic, coming to it. Anything to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, it's the high value stuff. I think we talk about this all the time. And a long time ago, we used to talk about how we have to repeat ourselves over and over again because we have to get and drive home the things that we talk about. But when it comes to emails, when it comes to building out an infographic or a lead magnet, when it comes to things like that, your goal is to help. And by helping, you build the reciprocity of someone then wanting to be able to book with you, or you being offered the opportunity to sell to them the experience and having that be part of it. And so whether you're doing that, the Facebook group strategy, whether you're building lead magnets and doing the same thing through emails, or it's emailing in general, if your core idea is to help as much as possible, giving them the insider information, then it's much easier to be able to sell, to be able to share information with them, and to be able to get them to actually want to book because you already shared and helped them in their experience as they're getting into it and trying to learn about the destination they're going to.
If you don't have that mantra in your fiber and you are just the salesperson that's always trying to promote your shit, people will turn you off. They don't care. They don't want to be. I mean, Dharmesh Shah and Brian Halligan, who founded HubSpot, nailed this in 2006 when they founded HubSpot. And literally, they wanted to stop the disruption. What happens if anybody still listens to the radio or XM and a commercial comes on, you literally click it and move it immediately, right? I mean, I used to be the guy that started. I just got like paid Spotify like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was the one that would turn off Pandora or whatever when commercials were on. I didn't even know that you could get. I'm too old, Chris. To like pay for Spotify and have no commercials and that type of stuff. And what's interesting is there's like these over the like Paramount Plus and stuff is now running commercials and stuff, and they're losing subscribership so quickly to Disney Plus and to Apple and that type of stuff. You can't do that, right? So if you're asking about, promos, so like here's the Great Escape Homes. Do you include any promos directly in your Facebook post? Custom discount code book by certain date. I honestly don't do that. You see, I don't do that a whole lot in my Facebook group with you guys either, right? I announce something in that group, but you don't see me hammering, in that Facebook group, hey, I've only got 5 left, I've got 7 left, like twice a day. I'll do that to you in email to make sure that everybody on our email list knows, right? But I'll start by adding value first. So here's the thing. Great Escape. I would highly recommend you or anybody that's promo happy, that's sales happy, is that you read a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. And it's about the jab, 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 right? So jab with your left, jab, jab, jab. That means give, give, give. Give, give, give. Then you earn the opportunity to come in for the knockout punch, the right hook, right? Give, 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 then take. Because you got to think about your marketing as a bank account. And every time that you sell something, you're making a withdrawal from that bank account. And that withdrawal is usually 5 to 10 times greater than the deposit that you put into that account when you help somebody. Let that sink in. So you need to make 5 to 10 deposits into your bank before you can make one withdrawal, or else you're going to be overdrawn. That is the absolute best analogy that I can give for all of you guys in regards to marketing. It's why I try to do so much to help people. It's why I spend so much time on phone calls. It's why I try to give out so much free content to where I earn the right to be able to come in and ask you to buy something for me. It's why we do this. It's why you see everybody in this industry following my footsteps and doing more and more and more and more free education, because I followed the footsteps of Gary Vaynerchuk, because I followed the footsteps of HubSpot, right? And they see what happens. It's about earning trust. It's about giving. And most importantly, it's about putting more money into your bank account than you withdraw, because we don't ever want to become withdrawn. So I'll just give you a really simple tactic. This morning, what did I post this morning? I posted about this in the Facebook group, right, Chris? I posted about this today, right? Then I deliver this today. Then probably within an hour of the time of us getting done, we're supposed to be done in 3 minutes. We're going to go over today because we're not even through number 2 yet. This will probably be an hour-long show here, because I've got to over-deliver. You know why? What's coming up after this, Chris? What am I going to post in the Facebook group when we get done with this?
Ski retreat, I'm assuming? Or move the needle,
100%. So I emailed that out last night, right? And I think we've had 3 people sign up. There's only 10 spots. So I can't go and just follow up and hit you guys again in the Facebook group. I got to come in and give you guys something of valuable that's value. I got to make a deposit into the bank. Then I can come out, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, 4 o'clock this afternoon, and post. That's why I asked Chris for my 3-minute video that we shot for this. And I'll post that into the Facebook group. And then I've earned the opportunity to be able to do that. If I just go blank and I just sell on my emails, I just sell on my Facebook posts, I just sell on my Instagram, then you guys tune out. Nobody wants to be sold to. So I have to earn that right. And that's really what I want you guys to understand. Like when you look at my 200-day funnel, there's like 2 or 3 sales emails in there out of like 12 or 13 communications. It's one of the reasons that I don't do upsells and downsells, meaning I don't use the upsells from like StayFi and that type of stuff. I don't try to sell grocery delivery. I do it for free. I do all this stuff for free with my guests because what I care about is that I over deliver for them and they want to come back. I'd rather have them come back and do another 5, 10, 25, or in the OBX, a $35,000 booking, as opposed to make another $100 off of them, right? Because I want the big deposits to go into my bank. And the bigger the deposit that I can make with them while they stay, then I get to hit them with my 200-day funnel and earn the right for them to come back and stay with me again.
1,000%.
Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, Chris, I'll let you start with slow decision making while I take a drink of water. That was a long one.
This is one of those things that's a separator that I wish we could bottle you and give to people, because most people spend so much time getting ready for everything to be perfect, getting ready for all the little things to be exactly how they need to be, instead of just making the move, making the decision, and then figuring stuff out or making changes along the way. And it's the difference between the speed is the difference between people that can actually move the needle and make things happen really, really quick and go down the path. Because we talk about this all the time, that we would rather be 4 steps ahead and then maybe have to take 1 step back because we had to make a small change for something, than the person who never got started because they're too afraid to make that first step in the first place. And that's really the difference maker between a lot of people, is that they get ready over and over and over again and never actually make that step to make a decision.
I can take 5 to 7 steps, fall flat on my face twice, maybe 3 times, get up, keep going, and learn. And I've already figured everything out before most people take step number 1. Yep. So I'm going to give you guys just a little pop quiz right now. It's just one question, actually. How many of you have updated your listings and have Christmas stuff? If you decorate, how many of you have Christmas stuff in your first 5 images? Because you realize that most Christmas bookings are already booked nationwide, right? So I actually start transitioning my listings in summer. So what I want you to rationalize, and a lot of you wait, right? Oh, I got to market fall. I got to market whatever. I love it, Eric. He's got his done. One of the things that you need to understand is how retail, how seasons work, right? How booking seasons work. Most of us that are in vacation rental markets, people book 100 days in advance. You look at, I'm already almost 80% sold out in the OBX. And it's interesting. Don't use the term beach, because Gulf Shores is different than Destin, which is different than Panama City Beach, which is different than Myrtle Beach and different than the OBX. I am almost sold out at 2 properties between Memorial Day and the end of August. And to the tune of like $400K, $500,000, I don't even know, $500,000 in bookings. And I'm like 90% occupant in Gulf Shores right now, unoccupied, right? Two completely different markets. But every single property that I have Christmas trees in or Christmas decorations, those things are updated at the latest around Labor Day. Right now, it's almost too late to do that stuff. So there's a reason when you go into a pro shop or a store, or Gap or Nordstrom or whatever, that ladies, I asked the lady, I was on the call from the mastermind this morning. She lives in Pennsylvania. And I mean, maybe, Savannah could find this because she lives in Florida, but let's take like Florida out, or maybe even like Scottsdale. Ladies, do you think, how likely do you think you could walk into a clothing store or any place in the mall or a Nordstrom or whatever and find a bathing suit today? Go to your local sports store, whatever. Highly unlikely. And if they do, it's on a sale rack and there's very little inventory that's left, because they are selling ski equipment. They're selling outdoor equipment, tents, heaters, all those types of things. And that started in August. All of these transitions happen 100 to 125 days out. So I need you guys to think this same way. How many times have you guys taken forever with paralysis by analysis to find a property, and then all the good ones are gone in the market? Or you took, a week to do your pro forma, and then Bill swooped in and bought it out from underneath you because he did it within a day, right? Most of my properties go under contract the day that I see them. If I'm going to buy it, I make the decision quickly. I hang my hat back on number 2, and what's my strength of marketing going to be? And if I find that, then I go into making quick decisions to be able to move forward. And this really has nothing and everything to do with our short-term rentals, because every successful business owner that I've ever known, and I'm talking people that build $100 million companies to $1 billion companies, they're decisive and they make decisions quick and they get to execution. And I learned probably maybe somewhat closely to when I hired Chris. And I remember John Baird, and that guy taught me a lot, Christopher. And I know you know him and you got to interact with him. And when John said, if you're hiring an executive, the most important thing you can do is you can take him to dinner. And you don't need to bring the spouse and, put him on the Dave Ramsey hot seat with, 5 employees and stuff like that. But what you do need to do is you need to take him to a place that has a large menu. And Cody Sanchez talks about this as well, right? Take him to like a New York delicatessen that has 5 pages with 100 things on every page, and watch how long it takes them. Watch how many pages they look at in the menu. Watch how long it takes them to make a decision. And if that person isn't ready to go when the waiter or waitress or server shows up, they're probably not going to be very swift at making decisions inside the office as well. Right? Somebody that's been through that exercise should know and have a default when they go in, and be ready when they go into that type of a business meeting, right? And if they don't, and they're looking for their favorite meal, then they're putting themselves ahead of the importance of that dinner, right? So there's a lot of things that we can learn about people and how they're going to operate in a business setting based on how you treat everything within in your life. So I have the same problems with Bria. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? And I'll tell her, I'm going to ask you one more time. And then she says, you pick, or I don't, if she says, I don't care, then I choose. And I don't even tell her where we're going. I just start driving straight there, right? If we're going out to eat. And sometimes it may be good to go to Publix to pick something up and to bring it back. But that's always the hardest conversation between couples is where are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? When are we going to eat? All that type of stuff. So I can't go through that process for 15 or 20 minutes with my personality, right? Because I'm going to make decisions super quick. And honestly, outside of the marketing and blah, 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 there is no question, as Chris said, and he's seen it for almost 7 years. That is my superpower. And it frustrates the fuck out of Chris sometimes, right? Because he's the one that has to take the brunt of it behind it in execution and all that type of stuff. And if I don't like something, like he sent me a graphic this morning, I don't like it. And I don't give a shit what he says about it. I want it changed. It's going to be changed and I need it quickly, right? And that becomes challenging because he's more of a type B and I'm a quadruple type A. And then I sometimes have to give him a little bit of leeway, to process and execute on that. And that's the same thing I look at with my guests as well. The other thing that I think becomes really important is imagine me hitting your listing. And if I go back and you have weak marketing, you have bad staging and all that type of stuff, I'm going to make a decision super quick. And that's going to be to move on to your next listing. So I really want you guys to understand how all of this meshes together. Does that make sense? Anything you want to add into this, Chris? Because the faster you execute or the faster you make a decision, the faster you get to execution. A lot of you have been waiting to start with Market My STR. A lot of you have been waiting to run your first Facebook ad. Stop fucking waiting and start executing. That person that I spoke to this morning is doing everything, Chris. She's a mastermind member and she hasn't deployed her first Facebook ads yet. And I had about a 3-minute conversation about where she needed to target. She doesn't know how to set it up. I said, reach out to Chris and he can show you how to do this like super quickly, because learning how to execute that side of it is the easy part. Mm-hmm. Making the decision to get started and then executing on the front end side is the hardest part.
I think that transitions where people get stuck. Even after, if they make the decision, when they finally make the decision, then the moving from decisions made, let's actually start getting this stuff done. That's where people slow down. And we even see it in the staging of properties, getting properties ready to list and to actually get into service, that people take forever. They're not realizing that, going back to point number one, cash flow, you're killing your cash flow if you're taking forever from the time you actually close to the time you get the property in service. That's why you do it so fast. It's not just to do it really quick, or because you and Bria love to have a super stressful 7 days together at a property while you're,
Oh, we really don't.
Up. I know you really don't. No one does. But it's a necessary evil, because the quicker you can do it, the quicker photos can get up, the quicker listings can get up, the quicker you can start marketing the property, or you can start taking bookings, because bookings equal money, and you just spent a whole bunch of money getting this thing into service, and you're not losing the potential cash flow by taking 2, 3, 4 months to
I'm dying a very slow death right now because I'm waiting on the freaking Flathead County for both of my new Montana properties. So I closed the 1st of August and I still don't have this one up and running. So that is September, October. I won't be up in November. That's, just so you know, 3 times 19,000. That's almost $60,000 in mortgage payments. That doesn't count the $170,000 over budget on the renovations and upgrades and everything. That's one of the reasons why I want to move so fast. I am not even going to come close to hitting my first year pro forma because of how long this is taking. And it's not my fault. It's not Bria's fault, but I'm dying. Every day I look at my email to see if my permit has been granted, or they haven't even scheduled, to come and, go through the property yet. And I just see cha-ching, 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 thousands of dollars just flying out of my wallet, every single day. So, Chris, let's move on to the last one. This really doesn't directly have anything to do with marketing, but it's the result of your efforts and what you're doing. And it is not having monthly P&Ls. You don't really know the true health of your business if you are not getting profit and loss statements, P&Ls, on a monthly basis. I urge you guys, even if it doesn't, you don't have to break down QuickBooks and Stessa to do this. If you have one property, just a spreadsheet, and in column A, you put all of your expenses. And then right below that, you just draw a line underneath it, in your spreadsheet, and then put in your gross revenue. And if you have, or you can put that at the top or in another column, whatever. But if you're doing $10,000 a month in gross revenue and you have $5,000 in mortgage, insurance, cleaning fees, taxes, OTA fees, whatever it is, then your net income is going to be $5,000. You don't need, I don't need to get into net operating income and gross profit. Just keep it super freaking simple. KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. And all you need is your expenses, but you need to track those. And that counts for, paying for whatever that's directly involved with your property. If you're traveling, that's airfare, that's rental car, that's food, that's expenses, all that type of stuff. You want to count everything. So this is where you can see the profitability, because at the end of the day, if you see your direct bookings go from 0% to 5%, right, and you spent $300 a month on marketing, and that 5% increase on $10,000 is $500, right? You might want to spend, take 100 of that profit and add on to that into the next month. If we don't know these things, you're just going to stay stagnant of where it is, right? And I think that's one of the fundamental things as a marketer, as we have to know at least what we call ROAS. That's ROAS. That's return on ad spend. And if we know what our return on ad spend is, and if we're making money, then we can layer on our profit on top of that budget and make more money, right? If we're not, then we need to retool our creative, retool our copy, pull our budget back, kind of build it back up, right? It's kind of like playing blackjack. If anybody's ever played blackjack and you win, you start with $100 in chips and you're playing 25 a hand. At least for me, if I win the first hand, that 25 goes right back. So I got 125 on the table. If I win that second hand, now I've got 150. I'm going to put that chip in my pocket, right? If I win the third hand, that goes back into my chips. If I win the fourth hand, then it goes into my pocket. So I'm kind of taking, my cash until once I get my 100 off the table, then I get to $500 and then I'll pull a full 100, right? So there, you need to have a system about how you are going to look to continue to invest into your property, upgrading and adding amenities, right? Upgrading and adding linens, new photos, whatever that is, and literally upgrading and adding to your advertising budget. And understand that if you have a VA or you're paying an agency or whatever it is, whether it's Market My STR, STR Digital, a VA, those all tie into your overall expense from a marketing standpoint. So if you're spending $300 a month on ads for two properties, $150 on property one, $150 on property two, and you have a $400 a month VA, executing marketing for you, and maybe they're just doing organic, you need to factor that in as well. Because if you're getting a better return on your ads and they're doing organic social media and you're not seeing traction, fire them and roll that 400 into your advertising budget. This is how we need to make decisions. And most importantly, we need to do it quickly. That's all I've got for you today, folks. Sorry that we went 42 minutes over. Chris, thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody here. Terry, Eric, Ronald, man, Tim. Who else we got? Christine, Mindy, TTT, the 7 T's, the last place, Dustin, Kenny, James, Savannah. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Chris and I will see you guys next week on Marketing Mondays.